Hello, everyone, and welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK. I'm the president, founder, and chief listening officer here at our network, where we currently have 29 shows each week. And stay tuned, our newsletter is coming out today at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, so please do check your spam folder for Dr. JACALYN at usaglobaltv.com. Our show today is The Art of Creating Mental Health Wealth. We're going to be looking at a very interesting topic, which is mentoring others when you're dealing with your own grief. Very powerful topic. Joining me today is the star of our show, JENETTA Barry and the Epiphany process. JENETTA is literally waist deep, I would think, in the planning for World Jenny's Day, which is happening right here on this platform on October the 10th, which is a Monday. We're super excited to be live streaming for 17 hours. Let's bring out JENETTA, and then we'll bring out our guest for today, Doug Lawrence. Hi, JENETTA.
Hello, Dr. JACALYN. Hello, viewers and listeners. Great to be back.
So nice to see you. And I know that you are so busy in the throes of putting together this major worldwide event. How are things going?
Yeah, they're coming along nicely. I'm really inspired with who we have joining us on that platform. We've got everyday performers who have incredible talent, and we've got some performers who are pretty well known as well, and some co-hosts. I mean, we have you, Dr. JACALYN. I'll get it right this side. You, Dr. JACALYN. We've got Helena Jard. We've got Ian Pelham Turner. So we've got some amazing co-hosts and performers. And you know, when you get that tingle and butterfly in your stomach, I'm getting that about the 10th of October.
Well, that's fantastic. I'm honored to be able to produce the show and also to co-host. So thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for having World Jenny's Day. What a wonderful collaboration it's turning out to be. This platform has a very specific and precious energy to it. And for the first time in the 3 years that World Jenny's Day has been running, it feels like there's a flow and an ease and a sense of love that's been added to the day by being on this platform. So it's a great honor and pleasure to have it hosted here. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. It's lovely to hear. And as you know, I had a meeting this week with another television station, and we are going to be collaborating in a new way, actually in studio and virtually. So that is exciting. I've got a call today with another television station. So things are really building, and it's wonderful that we have this opportunity to spotlight people and have them share their story to help others. And of course, our guest today, Doug Lawrence, has an incredible story as well. Before we bring him out, JENETTA, for people who are joining us for the first time, whether they're listening or they're watching live or on the replay, tell us, what is the Epiphany process and how did you come to develop it, as well as World Jenny's Day?
Thank you, Dr. JACALYN. The Epiphany process is a process that I actually studied and researched about 14, 15 years ago, after I lost my 16-year-old daughter, Jenny, to suicide after she and I had an argument. And it was devastating. I went to ground zero. I planned my suicide 3 times, even though I was considered to be the strongest person in the world, which is actually a very dangerous label to have. And so people were saying, well, thank goodness, I mean, if it's going to happen to anybody, thank goodness it's JENETTA, because she's so resilient and strong and she gets through amazing stuff. And that actually can isolate you even more. And it kind of did. And after researching and studying and walking the walk and talking the talk with this process, which is pretty accurate, because I found that so much had helped me, but there was always a missing in other modalities and in conventional therapy. And this really was the missing, where my unconscious consciousness was able to catch up with my conscious consciousness and have a conversation, the two with each other, and identify with each other. And then my grieving process started to balance out, and I was able to manage it. It's a lifetime management. It's never going away, but I manage it from an open-hearted place of open-hearted appreciation. So that's the epiphany process. It's just grown over the years. I've helped terrorist attack victims. I've helped teenagers who can't get out of bed, self-harming, writing suicide notes and not washing. They're all in their life purpose now. I've helped many people in all walks of life with all types of challenges, and it's been such an honor to be able to do that. But what we realized was that several years after Jenny died, she actually died on World Mental Health Day, the 10th of October. And we realized that that was a very significant correlation. And we now have World Jenny's Day, where we use theater and the art and performing arts as well, all types of performing arts, to normalize and soften conversations around depression, suicide, and even the solutions. And when it's done through that medium, it's amazing how people change their attitude to themselves and to others and to circumstances, and even their expression changes. So that is World Jenny's Day. And Dr. JACALYN, I have to tell you, I realized something on Saturday. Still blows me how Jenny and all her synergies still keep on rolling out more synergies. Jenny died 2 weeks after her 16th birthday, and she was born on 25th of September. We've touched before on how her birth date and birth year and death date and death year all add up to 7s and 9s, when nobody else I know has that happen to them. And on Sunday, I was busy writing a post saying, you know, it would have been your 33rd birthday today on the 25th, and just for you. And then all these posts started coming up saying it's National Daughter Day. So Jenny was born on National Daughter Day and died on World Mental Health Day. And it's with that energy in Jenny having left the planet that so much has been achieved, and many hearts have opened and been able to move forward when they thought they really couldn't. So that's where we sit with World Jenny's Day. And that's why having Doug Lawrence with us today is a very special addition to this program. And I'm so pleased that Doug put himself forward, having already appeared on USA Global TV and radio with Dr. JACALYN. It's just such an honor to have him back, because this man has really done some amazing things on a subject that obviously melds in very, very closely to the work I do. And, you know, he's the founder of TalentC, the co-founder of International Mentoring Community, and he has over 40 years of leadership and mentoring experience. And, you know, you can see when you speak to him and you see him and you look at his website that it's really, he's in his calling, and he's truly inspired in helping others to step into where their genius and their wisdom is. And what a man. You can see he has helped many, many people. Today, he's connecting that ability to help others and sharing with us his very own grief journey that he has more recently had to step into. And so I would like to introduce you very specially to Doug Lawrence. Doug, welcome today.
Hi, Doug. Welcome to the show.
Good morning here, and thank you. Yes, thank you very much. And thank you for those kind words. Very, very touching. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. We're happy to have you back, and I just appreciate you sharing your story. I know it must be difficult to revisit it again and again, but I know how dedicated you are to helping others. And if you could just start off sharing with our audience your work as an international certified mentor, what exactly do you do in that capacity?
So, as an international certified mentor, I work in a number of different aspects of the mentoring world. So, I work with young entrepreneurs to help them uh, establish a business presence and work their way through that. So, I work with people. I think I have 3 people that I work with in the Caribbean. I work with the American Corporate Partners in the United States, which is helping military personnel transition from military service to civilian life. So I work with them there. And then I do stuff in Canada and some in the US as well around leadership mentoring. So helping young leaders in an organization to be able to get the wisdom and knowledge that they need and give them sort of guidance on how they can navigate through different challenges that they're going to be experiencing. And in addition to that, I also provide services like I work with a Catholic school where I'm mentoring the leadership team. I also provide a service I call mentoring versus termination. So if you're thinking of terminating an employee, let me spend 5 one-hour sessions with them, and I pretty much 99% of the time can help initiate a behavioral change that will get that person back on the right track and for them to become a back to being a contributing partner in the organization. And then more recently, probably I would say the last year and a half, give or take 6 months, I have done some research and I've basically surfaced or identified a spot that I feel is a gap, and that's in the mental health support structure support world. And what I have been able to determine is that it's a great place for us to plug mentoring in as part of the support structure for mental health. And so I've been diligently moving forward, dealing with getting that going and trying to get others to buy into that philosophy or that concept as well. And I even wrote a book on the aspect of mentoring and mental health, and use that as sort of my bridge into an organization or into a group where I feel that there are things we can do to help contribute towards that. And the book is a good bridge or a good channel for us to use to leverage that. So I've definitely got some of that going. And on top of all that, of course, I have my own grief that I'm dealing with. I lost my wife to cancer in 2021, and I'm still dealing with that even to this very day. And to be truthfully honest, I'm not sure that I'll ever get past that. I think that the feelings in that are too strong to be able to just kind of throw them out the window and not listen and hear to what they have to say. I'm part of a bereavement group, and I was truly blessed here this week to be asked by the head of that whole bereavement program if I would be so kind as to work with her to co-facilitate one of the bereavement groups. And I'm supposed to be doing that this evening. It's an evening session, so I'm supposed to be working with her this evening to help facilitate that. And so once again, I'm truly blessed, truly honored to be able to be a part of helping others to deal with their grief while at the same time dealing with my own. And it's like it's therapeutic. So when I wrote the book and I'm working on another one, and I find all of that stuff to be extremely therapeutic, being able to share my story with you folks today is very therapeutic as well. And so that's just a little bit, I guess, of what I've been working on the last little while.
Thank you so much, Doug. And again, I really appreciate your courageousness and your vulnerability being here today. Janetta, you work with people who are dealing with loss and with grief, and I know that prior to this, you and Doug had a conversation. Doug just mentioned that the feelings that he has, he's not sure if he'll ever be able to move past or have them leave his being. What are your thoughts and experiences based on your work that you do, Janetta?
Well, firstly, I so identify with what Doug's saying, and especially those early stages. It is beyond overwhelming. And there were times where I wondered how I'd ever get past it. So my heart goes out to you, Doug, because you're at the early stages of your grief. It's still early days. And the fact that, as Dr. JACALYN was saying, is that you're here talking about it internationally online is amazing, because you can make such a difference to so many people out there as they go, oh, well, I identify with that too. What I have observed in my journey and working with other people is that a lot of our grief is attached to the shoulda, coulda, woulda, ought to, and the regrets. And what I have been able to do with a lot of people is help them to bring those regrets into a place of open-hearted manageability. And when that happens, when you're not too charged in the way of I should have, and if only, and what if, and all those questions that go on inside you, especially at 3 o'clock in the morning, when you can take those questions and bring them into balance, so that they're not controlling you and overwhelming you, and you understand what that really is, and are able to have a bigger picture than just those questions. Amazing things happen in your grieving process. Plus the fact that people that, it's 3 months now since, well, now you should be doing this or like that, or, there's kind of like this book that they have written. And I think you touched on it in saying that you'll never get over it. It's a lifetime process, but how you handle it with time and how you bring it in and manage it, being able to see what's working in that loss, because that's what sticks us in our grief, is those coulda, woulda, shoulda, ought to, have tos, and going, well, I'm stuck here. And often this is another part of complicated grief I've noticed with me and with other people, is that if you move on and you're in a place of managing your grief, does that mean you didn't love that loved one enough? So especially parents, so I can't go in saying I'm moving forward with an open heart and I understand where the gift is in this. They're going, what sort of parent am I? But it really does make a difference. And I can see and hear, am I right in saying, Doug, that this is the process you're finding yourself working through with your group? What have you been able to move and shift even in this short time?
I guess one of the biggest, and probably for me, one of the most important things, and I know some of the other folks that are part of the bereavement group, is the aspect of there are other people who are experiencing similar things. We all deal obviously with our grief in our own special way, but it's just the fact that I'm aware that somebody else is going through a tough time, that they're grieving the loss of a loved one, a family member. It can be, the list goes on from there, but it's just the reassurance that that's there. Because for me, it's all about, I I can manage my grief or my grief can manage me, and I need to make that decision, and I need to put things into place that are going to, if I decide I'm going to manage my grief, I need to have things put into place, or I need to put them in place so that I'm able to actually do that, to actually manage my grief. And I find I have good days and I have bad days, where some days I'm more capable, or my coping mechanisms are more capable to allow me to actually manage the grief. And then there are days where I'm just a total write-off. I'm very emotional, and it's a tough challenge. It's a tough road to have to go down. But I do, if there's any one thing I could always suggest, or that I would always suggest to people, is that any chance you get to be part of a group of individuals who are experiencing grief and loss, you should, there's no shoulds in life, it's advisable that you get involved with that. Because I know for me and for some of my colleagues who are actually part of this bereavement process, that's made a huge difference. It's made what was actually super tough times, it's made it better. It hasn't made it great, but it's definitely made it better. And the work that the individual that she does to help all of us be able to kind of understand the grief and all of that, and help us move forward. That there's not enough of those individuals in the world today to be able to help us deal with this. And that's why having this conversation with you folks today is so important, because it lets people know that, you are not alone. That's probably the best way for me to put it, is you are not alone.
Doug, I love that. That you're not alone, but what you expressed there is so very valuable and important, because a lot of people get very stuck in the 5 stages of grief. And although it was very helpful of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross to put them together, it's tended to trip up people, because suddenly they're finding they're at 4 and they haven't even done stage 1. So are they failing? And that was one of the things I battled with early on in my grieving, was I'm not going according to how everybody else is doing. And you hit it so beautifully just then, when you were talking about how everything comes in waves, because grieving happens in cycles, not in linear stages, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what happens on one day is appropriate for that day, and what happens on another is appropriate for that. As I call it, allowing and wallowing, and allowing those feelings to come out in waves, and then finding the tools when you've gone into that click over of wallowing. And I can hear very clearly that that's what you're learning to manage, rather than trying to read something according to a rule book. And that's so honorable, because again, you're a wonderful mentor for something through the same, having lost a wife or a husband. It's so honorable, and you've hit it without even realizing it, that's what you're allowing. And kudos to you. Dr. JACALYN, what do you feel I mean, I know you've had your dad who was very close to you. What did you find helped you in your side of dealing with your grief?
Thanks for asking. Yeah, he passed away about 10 years ago, and I was very involved in keeping him safe and listening to him. So when he passed away, I didn't have any of those I should have, I could have, I would have, because I felt like I did everything I could as a daughter. And I know other family members felt differently, and there was kind of some friction because, why was I handling it so well. But one thing I wanted to also put out there, because this definitely happens, is when you're going through the process and you have your circle of friends, the people that you see on a regular basis, and kind of at some point it gets to be like, oh, here she comes again. She's going to talk about that again. I don't want to hear that. And people kind of start to avoid you. And I'm wondering, Doug, have you experienced any of this?
Oh, big time. Even family members. Yeah, and a large part of it, I think, is the aspect that we don't know what to say or how to say something, especially when you're dealing with somebody who's just lost, a significant other, a family member, anyone. And it becomes a challenge to try and figure out what can I say that I want to make a difference in this person's life and help them with their grief and that, but I don't know what to say. And so typically now what I've started to tell people is, tell me you don't know what to say. And if you want to have a conversation, I'll guide you. I will, here's the mentor coming out again, but I'll guide you on a path where we can actually have a meaningful conversation. And you don't have to worry about, gee, I don't know what I'm supposed to say or how I'm supposed to act or any of that. And you're absolutely right, Dr. J, is that what I've also found is that sometimes there's a lot of avoidance that takes place where people that could participate in your healing journey choose to go in a different direction because they're just not sure. They don't know, gee, if I say the wrong thing, is Doug going to break down and cry in front of all these people? And I don't want to be the person that starts that, and all kind of things like that. But you're absolutely right, there is an avoidance that takes place when people do not know what to say or how to act or what to do when they encounter somebody who is going through the grieving process.
Thanks for sharing that, Doug. I appreciate it. I've also wondered, and maybe JENETTA, you can weigh in on this. I've also wondered if people act or react the way they do because they're starting to evaluate their own relationships, people in their own lives, and maybe they're not showing up the way that they could be showing up, or maybe they're experiencing just questioning the relationships they have and how are they showing up for people in their lives. Or maybe they're looking at the relationship with you and they're saying, I really haven't been a good friend, and now it's probably too late because I should have been there for him before his wife passed away, or I shouldn't have made that comment when we were together at XYZ function. JENETTA, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, these are very meaningful happenings where people become wordless because they're also running the shoulda, coulda, would have conversation in trying to deal with the person they care. But what I've also noticed is that when people don't know what to say, so often they try and fix it. I call it the Band-Aid cliches. So instead of having the tools to say, I'm here to sit and listen, or just sit, if you don't want to say anything, I'm here, I'm just present for you and with you. You tell me what you want me to do, because they haven't got those skills, although that vocabulary, because it's not something that we're taught to do. They try and fix the situation by saying, well, at least she didn't suffer at the end. Well, how do you know whether she did? Or, God needed another angel in heaven. Really? Is that so? At least there are plenty of other fish in the sea, and I'm sure she will want you to move on. Really? You sure about that? And what happens is when people come out with those statements, it's mostly because they're so darn uncomfortable. They don't know what to say, so they try and fix the situation and make it all right. And then that makes them feel better. And of course, it leaves the person mourning, feeling like they're not being heard or listened or understood. So it's really about starting new conversations where people can be helped to, or skills really, help those who are mourning and bereaved.
Thanks, Janetta. I have another question actually for both of you. We're talking a lot about listening fully, being present, not making judgments, not interrupting, not providing solutions. On the other side of it, is it acceptable for the other person to say, Doug, I'm here for you. I want to hear what you have to say. Can we chat about this, or can I listen for about an hour and then talk about something else? Is that appropriate?
I think from my perspective, because you've actually, in some way, shape, or form, you've actually defined the expectations of a conversation that you're about to have or would like to have. I think you've some keywords that you had mentioned. One was listening and one was hearing, and that's sometimes that's all that's needed, is just to be able to sit there and listen and hear and let the person talk. And I know I don't get that opportunity, because a lot of people just they prefer not to have a conversation. You know, sometimes when I think back over all the time, sometimes all I want is somebody to just say, "How are you doing?" and say nothing else. And if I feel, and then sort of listen what my response is going to dictate as to whether we're going to have a continuing conversation or whether I'm not in the frame of mood to have a conversation, because it's just that I don't want to talk anymore about anything that is, grief related. Let's talk about something that maybe isn't grief related, if that's even possible. So for me, the two words that jumped out were listen and hear, out of what you had actually said.
Thank you, Doug. I appreciate that. I'm also wondering, as a follow-up, if someone in your circle, for example, or when it happened to me when I lost my dad, if people are thinking, hey, I'd love to give a call over to Doug and let him know that this just happened, because we're friends, but how could I call and tell him something good just happened to me when he's grieving? And then I think that puts up some kind of distance as well. Janetta, have you seen people do this or heard about this?
Yeah, I have. And a lot of people end up not contacting that person. But again, it as Doug was saying, it's about staying in a place of neutrality, picking up that phone. How are you? As Doug said, how are you feeling? And then you can gauge, is this the appropriate time to tell about something good that's happening? Or is it the appropriate time to just say, I'm here, I'm listening? And then you know whether you should say it or not. And often in just being heard and listened to, the grieving person's that much more open to hearing a little bit, maybe a little bit about what you have to say. But it really is a judgment thing, an intuitive thing as well, where you go, yeah, no, it doesn't feel appropriate. I'm just going to keep it now, and just keeping in contact. I mentioned to you a few weeks ago, Dr. JACALYN, where I'd lost or I'm losing a friend to cancer, and she'd lost a son who was in Jenny's class 18 months ago. And I'm finding that the only thing she can deal with right now is a text saying, I love you. That's it. Mm. And I'm honoring that. So you've got to be intuitive. Would you agree, Doug? The intuitive side?
Yeah, definitely got to be intuitive. You need to, because I've had situations where that all I've simply wanted was somebody to listen and hear. And if you ask me, what can I do to help, or I'll give you a call in a couple of weeks and we'll go for a coffee and we'll see how things are going for you. And that call never comes. And so then you kind of wonder, am I not worthy of that? What's the purpose? The reason is because I've lost a loved one, I'm sort of not the person you want to be around, or what? what is it? But it's it's so simple, and I guess because we're kind of mired in the grief ourselves and trying to sort of deal with managing it versus it managing us. But for me, the most important thing is that if you say that you're going to do something, then please follow through with it. And a perfect example is we did a celebration of life for Deborah when she passed, and I had people come up to me after we were done the formal part of the celebration, and said, "Gee, I'd love to be able to give you a call, and we'll go for lunch." And I've never had that call, and we've never gone for lunch. And you sort of take the step back and you kind of go, okay, I sort of understand maybe why, and part of it is because it makes them uncomfortable, and they're not quite sure how they would navigate a conversation when hanging over top of everything is the fact that my wife passed away, died from cancer, and how do I have that they're thinking in their mind, how do I have that conversation without going down that path? And perhaps, like I had said earlier, creating the place for Doug to become more emotional and maybe even breaking down and crying in a restaurant, and how embarrassing that would be. Oh my goodness, we can't have that. So I think there's a number of different things here, but for me it always keeps coming back to, if you're going to reach out, follow through, and sometimes just be aware that it could be just to listen and hear.
Yeah.
Thank you, Doug.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to kind of put you on the spot with a question just for people who are out there watching. So if you don't want to answer, you don't have to. But if someone were to call you and say, Doug, I'd really like to get together with you, and I want to hear how you're doing, would it be okay if we talked about for a little while and then we talked about some other things that I'm doing? Would that be okay with you if someone just put it out there?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So there you are, world. You've heard it. That Doug he wants to share, and he wants to hear what you have to share. And I found through my journey, like, that people will also say something like this: listen, I know you're really going through something right now. I can't imagine what it feels like. I've got something great that happened to me, but I'm sure it's not going to work out. You know how these things are. Like, in other words, to make it like they're suffering or they're going to suffer too, so the two of you are suffering together. And would something like that make you feel better, Doug?
No.
No, exactly.
No.
Exactly. So there you go, for people who are watching or listening. These are some things to just keep in mind, that I think we really have to look at our own behavior.
Yeah. And it's a constant, because it's a skill. So everybody's learning all of the time. And it's those that want to get that balance. There are a lot of people out there that are so busy getting on with things, they don't even realize there's a necessity for that balance to handle people who are grieving. So, and that's where I found my true friends were the ones who had that sensitivity and that intuition, and the ones that didn't peeled away. And I ended up so grateful that in my loss, I've really got the most amazing close circle of friends that were missing before I lost Jenny. There's the one gift of many. And I don't know if you're finding that as well, Doug, but it blows me each time it happens, and that sensitivity from friends comes in. And sorry, carry on.
I was just going to say that I agree wholeheartedly with that. For me, my circle of friends has become very close, very, very small, actually. And, I'm truly blessed to be able to extend that circle of friends to be able to include the two of you, where you're individuals that I know you understand, and you know, you've experienced grief in some way, shape, or form, as we all do on an individual basis. But it's really, it's reassuring, I guess, and very, very touching that we've been connected. And as a result of that connection, it's also helped me in my healing journey, just to know that I have people like yourselves that I can always turn to when my day is maybe not going quite the way that I had hoped it would. And I always know that I can always, you know, knock on the door, give a call, send a message, and I know that you're going to be there. And that is what's so important nowadays.
Yeah,
So,
I really appreciate that. Thank you, Doug. Yeah,
wow, amazing. And I want to share something that's been happening around here whilst we've been on this show, because I'm a great believer energy is neither created or destroyed. I mean, it's a law. It's a scientific law that it recreates into new forms of itself. And those of you who know, I've had many incidences in my loss. But whilst we were sitting here, Doug, on a spiritual level, I don't know if you could hear it because I was muting myself. It was so loud, but right outside my window here was a bird, a dove, known as a mourning dove, mourning, as in mourning, as in having lost a loved one. And it has a black band around its neck, because in Victorian times you used to wear black around your neck to show you were in mourning. So it's called a mourning dove, and it's been sitting until about 5 minutes ago right outside my window here, going and I thought at the end I have to mention this, but she has gone now. So there's something that for me, it may not for you, but for me it was such a comfort when synchronicities like that happened. I wanted to share that with you, and if it's helpful, take it. If it isn't, chuck it out.
Thank you. I definitely will take it.
That's amazing, Janetta. Have you seen that mourning dove before?
Yes. You know, one particular one that just loves, I've got a bird table and a seed feeder, and we have sunbirds here that come in. They're iridescent, and they feed from the sugar feeder. And the mourning dove kind of goes around going, "Can I join you, crew?" Because they're all different types of birds there, and it's always on the periphery going, "I want to join you, I want to join you." And it doesn't quite get there because it's a little bit bigger than all the other birds. And she is there every single day since I've arrived here. So absolutely. And what I'm going to do now, Doug, is observe and listen now that right here, and usually it's on the other side of the house. So I will see if anything comes of it and share it with you if you are so inspired.
I am.
That's fabulous. Doug, I don't know if you've had an opportunity to see this, where JENETTA is in East Africa, but it's incredible when you can see outside of her windows what's going on there in the wildlife. It's truly amazing, JENETTA.
It truly is. And you're both very welcome to come and join us and visit us. Visitors are very welcome, especially ones that really identify with all of this. And we're in the middle of the Great Rift Valley overlooking Lake Naivasha, which is full of hippopotamus, full of hippos, and an almost extinct mountain called Mount Longanot. It's actually a crater. And outside our bedroom window, even last night, I was actually attending to a very, very ill dog. And as I was sitting with poor Shiso, he was clutching his heart out there with the hyenas right outside my window, going, "Ooh!" That's how they look. Ooh! It's like, "Oh, hi." So it's
While
just so
we're on this
therapeutic.
topic, I think it's important to also mention that many times, at least I found, animals help us when we're grieving or when we feel sad or alone or isolated because they give us that unconditional love. Do you have any pets, Doug? Or are there any in your future?
There are people that wished that I had, but I don't have. We had a purebred German Shepherd back in the 1980s, and we ended up having to have that particular animal put to sleep because he ended up with cancer. So we never really, we talked a lot about getting a pet, and I've I've had some of my neighbors who all seem to have small dogs in the neighborhood that I live in, that they go for walks with their dog, and they keep kind of poking me every so often to say, look what you could be doing. You could get exercise, and you get the love from the unconditional love from your pet, and you could do this. And I'm just not ready yet.
Yeah, that makes sense. It does. So, but you're aware of
Absolutely.
it, and you remember how you felt when you had your dog, and so at some point, maybe that will be something. But maybe for now, it's just seeing the neighbor's dog and petting the neighbor's dog, and and let them take care of dogs.
Yeah.
I had 3 dogs; they all passed away from cancer, and I decided I'm not getting any more pets because it's a
Yeah.
huge responsibility. But it is nice to come home and they're like, they're happy to see you.
Yeah.
So I can't believe we're actually are at the end of the show because Jenetta, your Talking Heads is coming up right after this. So Doug, how are you feeling after this episode with us today?
This has been very, very helpful. So thank you both so much for this opportunity. Being able to share what I'm going through, what I'm experiencing, is extremely therapeutic for me. And when I get an opportunity like this with 2 wonderful people, it's just all that much more. So thank you both once again from the bottom of my heart for this opportunity.
Thank you, Doug. Would you please share with our audience who is not able to read the banner or they're listening on the radio how to contact you and who you would like to contact you?
I'm pretty much open book. So if if you're the sort of person that you're not sure whether I should reach out or not, reach out and reach out to me, and we can have that early conversation to see how how I may be able to bring value to what it is you're dealing with. But you can reach me on my website at www.talentc.ca. So the word talent, letter C on the end.ca. And there's a contact me button on the website that you can click on and just follow through from there. You can also send me an email message direct to my email, which is doug.lawrence, LAWRENCE, at TalentC. So the word talent, letter C on the end.ca. And I'll do my very utmost to get back to you as quickly as I possibly can. And the other place you can probably find me is if you go to LinkedIn and search for my name. I'm fairly active on LinkedIn, so that's another great place to go and look me up, and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Doug. And that CA represents Canada, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Wonderful. Well, thank you again. It's lovely to
Oh,
see you, and thank you for just being so vulnerable and
yeah.
honest and real with us.
And such
Thank
an honor and pleasure to have you on the show today, because you're a shining example of how that pain is manageable when shared and is manageable when you've got the skills. So thank you for being here today. And by the way, whilst you were saying all your bits, Morning Dove started again, and as you finished, he stopped. So
Interesting.
It's amazing. Amazing. All right. Thank you, Doug. And Jenetta, we have to sign off as well. So I'm going to put up your banner if you can let people know how they can reach you.
Oh, thank you. So if you're looking at how to start new conversations when you're feeling challenged, whether it's bereavement or any form of loss or challenge, please do chat to me, because when you can deal with the conflicting conversations that are in you, and some of them are very unconscious, when you can deal with them in a loving way, consciously, bring them up to the consciousness and use skills and techniques to consciously embrace them, new conversations come out your mouth from your wisdom. And I have people sitting there going, wow, where did that come from? And they're no longer distracted by that conflicting internal conversation. So if you'd like a slice of that, please do contact me at the Epiphany Process, which is theepiphanyprocess.com, and JENETTA at theepiphanyprocess.com, JENETTA at theepiphanyprocess.com. And if you'd like to get involved with World Jenny's Day, worldjennysday.com, behind the scenes, or actually perform if you're a performer, contact me at worldjennysday.com, or come and visit us and be with us for the day. I've had quite a number of people saying, I've booked half the day, I'm going to be there for 17 hours. That was me, Dr. JACALYN. And so whichever you'd like to do, or if all of the above you'd love to do, it would be an honor and pleasure to have you with me and with us as a team here on USA Global TV and Radio. Thank you, Dr. JACALYN.
Thank you very much, JENETTA, and thank you very much, Doug. We are going to sign off for now, and then JENETTA will be right back with her Talking Heads episode, so stay tuned for that. Bye, everyone.